The last battle of Arcarion. The sky above Arcarion was burning. Black smoke rose from the mountains. Alien ships crashed like shooting stars. The sound of explosions echoed across the valley. The war was almost over. Commander Jace Thorne stood on top of a broken hill, his armor cracked and dirty. His face was tired, covered in blood and dust. He looked across the battlefield. Thousands of bodies, both human and alien, lay still. Machines sparked. Fires burned. It was silent now. Too silent. He held his rifle tight, but his hands were shaking. "Status report," he said into his comms. No answer. Only static. He looked up at the red sky. The sun of Arcarion was setting, but everything still felt cold. Then, he heard it. A scream. Not a cry of pain, but something else. A voice calling for help. Faint, but clear. Jace turned. The sound came from the ruins of an alien temple nearby. The building was half destroyed, pieces of stone scattered like bones. He moved quickly, rifle ready. His boots crushed ash and glass as he entered the ruins. Inside, it was dark. The air smelled like smoke and old metal. He saw something glowing, in the shadows. A woman. She was sitting on the ground, her hands tied, a soft blue light around her wrists. Her skin was silver, her hair dark and long. Her eyes, bright like stars. She was not human. She looked at Jace without fear. "You're not supposed to be here," she said calmly. Jace aimed his rifle at her. "Who are you?" "I am Kira, slave of House Norith. I was given as tribute. You won the war, remember?" Jace lowered his weapon slightly. He had heard rumors. When humans defeated the alien empire, they were offered gifts. Ships, weapons, and sometimes people. The thought made him sick. "I don't want a slave," he said coldly. Kira smiled. "Good. I'm not a slave. Not really." Jace scanned the room. No traps, no guards, just her. Alone. "Why are you here?" he asked. "I was left behind. They thought I was useless. But I'm not." Her voice was soft but strong. She stood, slowly, the light chains on her wrists fading. Jace watched her carefully. She didn't seem dangerous, but something about her felt wrong. Or maybe too calm. "You should come with me," Jace said finally. "I already knew you'd say that," she replied. He didn't like how sure she sounded. They walked together through the ruins. Jace noticed she didn't stumble or slow down, even with the injuries on her legs. She moved like a trained soldier, silent, focused. Back at the command base, Jace reported in. "Commander Thorne, do you confirm retrieval of the asset?" A voice from High Command asked through the screen. "She's not an asset," Jace replied. "Acknowledged. Keep her under watch until further orders." Jace turned off the screen. Later that night, he sat by the fire inside a temporary shelter. The wind outside howled through the ruins. Kyra sat across from him watching the flames. "You humans," she said. "You think this war is over?" "It is," Jace replied. "Your empire surrendered." Kira shook her head slowly. "They surrendered. Too easily." "What do you mean?" She looked into his eyes. "They didn't care about winning. They only needed time." "Time for what?" Kira leaned closer. Her voice dropped. "For them to wake up." Jace stared at her, confused. "Who?" She didn't answer. She stood and walked to the edge of the shelter, looking at the stars. Jace felt a chill run down his spine. "Kira," he said, standing up, "if there's something you know." She turned to him, eyes glowing softly. "You think you won this war," she whispered, "but you have no idea what's coming." Suddenly the ground trembled. A low, distant sound like thunder echoed from beneath the planet's crust. Jace grabbed his rifle. "What was that?" Kira didn't move. The beginning. Jace stepped outside. Far in the distance, a mountain exploded in a bright flash of light. A strange blue energy rose into the sky. He looked at Kira. She was smiling, not with joy, but with knowing. "This planet," she said quietly, "is not just a battlefield. It's a door. And now it's opening. Jace looked at the sky again, and for the first time in his life, he felt fear. Real fear. The alien bride. The fire had gone out, but the silence was louder than ever. Commander Jace Thorne stood alone outside, the shelter staring at the glowing blue sky. In the distance, energy still danced over the broken mountain, the place where the explosion happened. The air felt heavier, colder, like the planet was breathing differently now. Inside the shelter, Kira was awake. She sat by the wall, her knees pulled to her chest, her silver skin dim under the flickering emergency light. Her glowing eyes were closed, but she was listening to the sound of the planet, to the things no human could hear. Jace walked in, rifle still in hand. His face was hard, his mind racing. "You're going to tell me everything," he said. Kira didn't open her eyes. "I already told you this war was only the surface. No more riddles," he snapped, "and that mountain, something came out of it." "What is it?" She finally looked at him. There was no fear in her face, only sadness. "A signal," she said. "A beacon. Something very old. Something we were never supposed to find again." Jace knelt in front of her. "What is this place, Kira? What's under Arcarian?" Kira stood up slowly. The glow around her wrists returned, light cuffs not made by humans. She touched the invisible cuffs and they faded. Jace watched carefully. "You're not a slave," he said quietly. "You never were." Kira smiled a little. "I played the part. It made them feel powerful. They love that." Jace's eyes narrowed. "Who are you, really?" She turned away from him and looked out through the cracks in the wall. Beyond the horizon, the wind carried strange sounds, like whispers, or songs, or warnings. "I was born in the house of Norith, first daughter. Not just a servant, an heir. I was trained to be a warrior. But my family, they were traitors to the Empire. Why? Because they wanted peace." Jace stared at her, confused. "That makes them traitors? In our world, peace is weakness, war is honor, strength is God." She paused. "But my father knew about the weapon buried here. He tried to seal it forever. They called him a coward. They killed him. I ran." Now Jace was silent. He sat down slowly, rifle resting on his knees. "So when you were captured, I let it happen," Kira said. "It was the only way to come back here, Mame, before they woke it up." Jace rubbed his face. "Who are they, Kira?" She turned toward him, her expression hard, cold. "They are not alive, not anymore. They were the first conquerors of this galaxy, the original masters of death and energy. We called them the Void Kin." Jace felt a chill crawl down his spine. "We buried them here," Kira whispered, "deep under Arcarian, long before your kind ever reached the stars." The next morning, the earth trembled again. Jace and Kira stood outside the shelter watching strange lights flicker in the sky. Communication systems were down, satellites were failing, human forces were pulling back, afraid of something they couldn't see. Jace's commander finally contacted him, through a distorted signal. Commander Thorne returned to base immediately. "Bring the alien asset. She is to be transferred and interrogated." Jace looked at Kira. She heard every word. She didn't flinch. "I'm not turning her in," Jace said into the comm. Silence. Then, "That's an order, Commander. Earth Command is watching." Jace ended the call. Kira tilted her head. "That was foolish." "I'm used to it." They left the shelter and began walking toward the edge of a canyon where the beacon light had risen. As they moved, Jace noticed something strange. Animals, wild and alien, were running, fleeing. Birds circling above were losing balance and crashing. "Something's wrong with the gravity here," he said. Kira nodded. "It's changing, bending. The seal is almost broken." They reached the canyon edge by nightfall. What they saw below made Jace stop breathing. In the middle of the deep pit, Black crystal structures had begun to rise, like towers made of glass and shadow. They pulsed with blue light, alive and humming. Around them, dead alien machines were reactivating. They were rebuilding themselves, metal moving on its own, wires growing like vines. Jace whispered, "That's not possible." Kyra looked at him. "They are not machines, they are memories. The Voidkin don't build with tools, they build with thought." Suddenly, a massive shockwave hit the canyon. Jace was thrown back. Something was waking up. From the center of the crystal field, a figure began to form, a tall shape of energy, armor, and black fire. No face, no voice. But it looked at Jace, as if it could see into his mind. Kira grabbed Jace's arm. "We have to go." "Wait. What is that?" "A watcher. The first of them. It's testing the world. Testing you." They ran. "Behind them," the watcher screamed. A sound that wasn't sound at all, but a pressure inside the skull. Jace's ears bled. Kira's steps grew weaker. They collapsed near a broken outpost, breathing hard. "We're not ready for this," Jace said. "No, one is," Kira replied. Back at base, human generals watched the energy rise from Arcarian. They ordered a full lockdown. No one goes in or out. Commander Thorn was now marked as rogue. His name was flagged. His mission, terminated. But Jace didn't care. That night, as he wrapped Kira's bleeding hand, he asked the question he feared the most. "Is there a way to stop them?" Kira looked at him with quiet pain. "Yes," she said, then added, "but it will cost everything." The secret of Kira Rain fell on the metal wreckage of Outpost 9. Commander Jace Thorn sat in the corner of a ruined control room, his back against the wall, rifle across his lap. Blood from a small cut dripped down the side of his face. His breathing was slow but sharp, like a soldier who wasn't tired of war, only tired of surviving. Across the room, Kira sat with her eyes closed, her hands glowing faintly with silver energy. Her skin shimmered every time lightning flashed outside. She hadn't spoken in hours. She was meditating, or maybe remembering. Jace had questions, 100 questions, but only one truly mattered now. "Why are they waking up?" he finally asked. Kira opened her eyes slowly. "Because the stars forgot how to fear," she said. "What does that mean?" She stood up, walked over to a broken console and placed her hand on it. Her energy synced with the old system, lighting up a map of Arcarian underground tunnels, sealed chambers, unknown structures buried deep beneath the surface. "These places," she said, pointing to 5 glowing marks, "are the vaults. One of them holds what they want." Jace leaned in. "What is it?" "A memory," Kira said. "But not just any memory. It's a seed." He didn't understand. "A seed of what?" Kira looked him in the eyes. "Of extinction. 12 years ago, inside the Empire. Kira was only a child when she first heard the voice. Not a normal voice. Not like her mother's songs or her father's commands. This voice was inside her dreams. It whispered from the cold walls of her family's estate. It came from below the palace. Her father, the High Lord of House Norith, warned her never to go near the old catacombs. They were built to bury things, he said. Not just bodies, but sins. But Kira was curious, and curious minds are dangerous in empires built on silence. One night she followed the sound deep underground, past bones, past statues, past locked gates made of glowing stone. What she found was not a voice, but a presence, a feeling, a cold that touched her soul. In that moment, the memory seed touched her back. It didn't hurt. It didn't speak. It simply merged with her blood, her mind, her essence. From that day forward, she was no longer just Kira. She became something else, something watching. Now, back at the outpost, Jay stared at her. "You're carrying it, aren't you?" Kira nodded. "Not all of it, just enough to keep it sleeping." He backed away a step, So you're saying you're the reason they're waking up? No, she said calmly. I'm the reason they haven't already. Jace's mind raced. It all made sense now. The surrender, the tribute, her calmness, her fearlessness. She wasn't just some alien bride given to a human commander. She was a guardian, a living, locked to a cosmic door. You should have told me, he whispered. You wouldn't have believed me, she said. Jace clenched his fists. And what about my people? Earth thinks this war is over. They're celebrating. Kira looked at him, her voice colder now. Celebrating? On a grave. Suddenly the console flashed red. A transmission was being forced through. Jace activated it. It was from General Markel, Earth High Command. His face appeared, bloodied and bruised. Behind him, alarms blared. Soldiers screamed. This is General Markel. Our Carrion Command is under attack. Not by aliens. Not by anything we've seen before. They're inside our ships. Inside our minds. We need immediate evac. The screen went black. Jace turned to Kira. They're not just waking up, she said. They're already here. Meanwhile, orbit above our Carrion in the cold darkness above the planet, human warships floated silently. Then, they started falling. No explosions, no weapons, just systems failing, lights going out, power dying. One by one, they began crashing into the surface like giant burning meteors. Inside those ships, every soldier was already dead. Not by weapons, but by dreams. Back at the surface, the Plan Jace paced the room, thinking fast. Okay. If the seed is inside you, how do we destroy it? Kara shook her head. You can't destroy a memory. Only replace it. With what? She paused. Hope. He laughed bitterly. Hope doesn't stop monsters, Kira. No, she said, but sacrifice might. She pulled something from her belt, a small black cube pulsing with red light. This is a mind binder. It can extract the seed from me, but it will tear apart my soul. Jace froze. No. Yes. There has to be another way. There isn't. She placed the cube on the ground between them. It began to hum. I didn't come to win a war, Jace, she said softly. I came to stop an ending. Jace stepped forward, grabbed the cube, and smashed it against the wall. No. Kira stared at him, shocked. You're not dying for this, he said. She whispered. Then you will. The lights went out. Outside, something massive began to rise from the ground. Not a ship. Not a creature. But a structure, miles wide, shaped like a hand reaching out of the earth. Kira's eyes glowed brighter than ever. It's awake now, she whispered. Jace didn't move. He just looked at her. Then we fight, he said. Kira smiled for the first time. Not because she was happy, but because she had never been alone before. The return of the lost fleet. The stars above our Carrion were blinking out, not because of clouds or ships or debris, but because something was blocking the light, something vast, ancient, and alive. Commander Jace Thorne stood on the shattered ridge, staring at the sky with narrowed eyes. His armor was cracked, his rifle low on charge, and his body near the edge of collapse. But his mind was sharper than ever. Behind him, Kira watched the sky too, silent and unreadable. One by one, they came into view. Black ships. Silent, triangular, covered in glowing runes older than any human language. They're not from the Union, Jace whispered. Kira's voice was calm, but her eyes told a different story. No, they're older. Much older. Whose are they? She took a deep breath. Mine. Years ago, the Outer Expanse. The first royal fleet of House North vanished during the War of Succession. Historians claimed it was destroyed. Some said it fled into hyperspace. Others believed it was swallowed by a collapsing star. All of them were wrong. The fleet didn't disappear. It went hiding, waiting for a signal from the true heir, waiting for Kira. Now, Orbit around Arcarian the sea. Alien ships spread into formation. 10, then 20, then hundreds. They made no sound, no broadcast. Just presence. Earth's few remaining satellites picked them up and sent panic through the human command. Unknown vessels approaching, came the terrified voice over Jace's broken comm. They're not responding to hails. Are they enemies? Commander Thorne, do you copy? But Jace already knew the answer. Kira stepped forward. They think you stole me, she said. They think I'm in danger. You're not, Jace replied. They don't know that. Suddenly the sky lit. Up to one of the black ships fired. Not at the planet, but at a human cruiser trying to retreat. A silent blue beam cut straight through the hull, slicing it like paper. No explosion. Just disintegration. Jace cursed. We have to stop them. They're only doing what they were trained to do, Kira said. Well, untrain them. Fast. Kira stepped to the edge of the cliff. Her skin began to glow brighter. She raised her hand into the air. I am Kira, of House Norith, she spoke, her voice now amplified, echoing through space via a hidden frequency. Your queen lives. The black ships paused, then changed formation. Now they were circling above, protecting, not attacking. But something was wrong. Jace saw it first. On the radar, far beyond the Black Fleet, another signal. Bigger, faster. Another ship's coming, he said. Kira turned sharply. No, not them. From deep hyperspace, a monstrous vessel tore into real space. Jagged, rotating, alive. It wasn't a ship. It was a void construct, one of the Watchers, and it was hunting Kira. Inside the alien warship, minutes later, Kyra and Jace were transported to the command bridge of one of the Royal Fleet's carriers. Inside, the crew of silver-skinned aliens knelt as Kira walked by. She no longer looked like a captive. No longer a slave. She was a commander now, a queen. Jace watched her with quiet awe and fear. The alien admiral stepped forward. His name was Varen, old and tall, covered in scars. We thought you were dead, my lady, he said, bowing. I was, Kira replied. But I came back. And him? Varen asked, nodding at Jace. He's the reason I'm still alive. Jace raised an eyebrow. You just make that up? Kira smirked. You earned it. But the smile faded quickly. Varen pulled up a hologram. The void construct was approaching. Fast. We can't run, Kira said. It will follow me anywhere. Then we destroy it, Varen growled. No, Kira whispered. We trap it. Jace turned to her. How? Kira walked to the console. We open one of the vaults, lure it in. Won't that release more of them? Kira looked down. Yes. To trap the plan was madness, Jace knew it. They were flying toward the eastern vault, the deepest, most dangerous of all. It was buried under a sea of frozen acid. The vault had never been opened. Until now. Kira stood at the controls, her hand shaking slightly. As she activated the ancient mechanism, a spiral of alien runes lit up. The planet trembled again. Below the ice, metal structures moved, not built by hands, but by memory itself. A circular door the size of a stadium twisted, open. From behind them, the void construct screeched. It was coming. Kira activated the pulse beacon. The entire vault glowed. The void creature flew directly into the open core, reaching for her, and then Jace pulled the trigger. A chain of bombs detonated around the vault's entrance. The entire landmass collapsed inward. The vault became a tomb. The Void Watcher was gone, but so was half of the eastern continent. Aftermath, Jace sat in silence inside the ship's medbay. His hands were burned. His armor melted. Kira entered, her arm in a sling. She looked tired, but calm. You okay? Jace asked. She nodded. We bought time. How much? Days, maybe hours. He laughed bitterly. So not enough. No, Kira said, but it was a win. Jace stood up. Then what's next? Kira's expression changed, softer, but also sad. There's something you still don't know. What? She walked closer. I didn't come to this planet just to hide the memory seed. Then why? She placed her hand on his chest. To find you. Jace froze. Me? Kira whispered. You're the other key. The weapon below Arcarian. The ground of Arcarian was no longer stable. Cracks had formed across entire continents. Oceans were boiling from beneath. Even the clouds seemed to be fleeing the skies. And at the center of all this stood the door. A vault so massive, it split the land like a scar. Inside that vault was the weapon. And according to Kira, it wasn't built to destroy the galaxy. It was built to save it. Commander Jace Thorne stood at the edge of the crater, helmet off, hair blowing in the acid wind. He could barely breathe. The air was changing. The planet itself was changing. Beside him, Kira wore ceremonial armor from her old house. Black plates trimmed with glowing veins of silver. She didn't look like a slave anymore, or even a queen. She looked like a warning. You said I'm the key, Jace said, voice low. Kira nodded. Yes, the memory seed was only half of it. The weapon was built by two races, one that could carry memory, and one that could carry will. Let me guess, Jace muttered. Humans. Kira looked at him. No, you. Centuries ago. Project Helix. Long before humanity reached the stars, a secret human experiment was launched, codenamed Project Helix. The goal, create a perfect mind. One that could not be broken, corrupted, or rewritten. They failed. At least that's what they thought. But one of the test embryos survived. He grew up on Earth, raised like any other soldier, trained to lead, built for war, and his name was Jace Thorne, now Arcarian. The deep vault. The vault opened like an eye awakening. Stairs spiraled downward into black stone. Lights flickered on their own, responding to Jace's steps. As he descended with Kira and two alien guards, strange symbols floated in the air. Some looked like human DNA strands, others like galaxies twisted into words. This place, Kira whispered, was never made by my people. Then who built it? Jace asked. Kira's voice was distant. We did. Together. A long time ago, when the Voidkin first came. They reached the final chamber. It was round, metallic, and humming with power. In the center stood a floating sphere, half metal, half light. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Beneath it, a pedestal with two hand imprints, one alien, one human. Kira stepped toward it. This is the ignition core. It needs both of us to activate. But once we do, what happens? Jace asked. The weapon awakens. Elsewhere, high orbit Earth Fleet Command General Markel, still alive and bleeding, watched the data feed from Arcarian. The damn traitor made it to the vault, he growled. He's going to set it off. Another officer hesitated. Sir, what if he's telling the truth? What if the girl... He took an alien bride and broke protocol, Markel snapped. He's compromised. Prepare the Sunlance. Sir, that's a planetary weapon. I said prepare it. Back in the vault, Jace stared at the handprint. His palm hovered over it. I don't even know what this thing does, he said. You don't need to, Kira replied. Your will is the command. Jace looked at her, unsure. Why me? Because you haven't broken, she said softly. Even when you lost. Even when you were betrayed. Even when no one believed you. She placed her hand in the alien imprint. Jace looked at her one last time and placed his hand beside hers. The chamber roared to life. The sphere expanded, revealing a spiral of stars within it. A map. A memory. A weapon that remembered every war ever fought and how to win them. It wasn't a bomb. It was a god mind. Superconsciousness built from the minds of dead civilizations. It could calculate galactic survival in seconds, predict enemy evolution, twist reality, and it had just chosen Jace as its host. Vision. Inside the weapon's mind. Suddenly Jace was nowhere, floating in a space filled with memories. He saw Earth's fall before it happened. He saw ships burning in wars not yet fought. He saw Kira, as a child, bleeding in a corridor. He saw himself, aging, dying, returning. Then a voice echoed, "Will you burn or become fire?" Jace screamed as energy filled him. And then he woke up. Above Arcarian, the Earth weapon. Activates. The Sun Lance, a massive satellite hidden in Earth's orbit, locked onto the vault location. "Fire," said General Markel. A massive beam of solar energy shot down toward the planet's surface. Inside the vault, Kyra turned sharply. "They're firing on us." Jace stood up, eyes glowing faintly. "I can stop it," he said. "No, Jace. Your body can't handle the strain." He stepped into the center of the chamber and raised one hand. Outside, the Sun Lance beam struck and stopped. In midair, the energy froze, shimmered, and then reversed, imploding back into space. Jace collapsed to one knee. He had reversed time for that one beam. The god mind was awake. Aftermath. The ground around the vault was calm again. Silent. Jace stood beside Kira. He looked changed. Not in body, but in presence. Like something more was looking out of his eyes now. Kira looked at him with both awe and worry. "You're not just human anymore," she whispered. "No," Jace said. "I'm something else." Then he looked up. "We're not just fighting a war anymore." Kira nodded. "We're fighting fate itself. Betrayal and war." The vault was no longer a secret. From space, its glowing pulse could be seen across the upper atmosphere. A swirling storm of light danced over Arcarian's surface, painting the sky with the color of rebirth. But not everyone saw beauty in it. Many saw it as a threat, and now they were coming to kill it. Location: Earth Command War Room. Orbit above. Jupiter General Markel stood in the center of a war table, surrounded by holograms of Jace Thorne. Red alerts flashed. Officer reports came in from across the galaxy. "Commander Thorne has interfaced with an alien weapon," an officer reported. "He's absorbing something. It's changing him." Markel's face was stone. Cold. Unmoving. "Traitor," he muttered. "Sir, his vitals are still human," another voice said. "He hasn't attacked us. The alien woman, Kira, might be telling the truth." Markel slammed his fist. "He chose her over us. That's betrayal, and betrayal must be answered with fire." He turned to the others. "Mobilize the Armada. Arcarian is no longer a peace zone, it's a battlefield." Location: Vault Core. Arcarian Jace stood at the edge of the vault's inner ring. His body was stable now. The weapon, the god mind, was active inside him, but sleeping. For now. Kyra approached silently. She held a message pad in her hand, her face grim. "They've branded you a traitor," she said. "I expected worse," Jace replied. "They're sending the Armada, 10 war fleets, full orbital firepower." Jace nodded. "Then we stand." Kara paused. "We can still run." He looked at her. "Can you run from destiny?" She didn't answer. Hours later, across the planet, not everyone had abandoned Jace. Some of his old squad mates, scattered across the human alliance, had heard what was happening, and some believed him. A few loyal soldiers and captains broke. Ranks risked prison and flew their small vessels toward Arcarian. They were not many, not strong, but they were enough to form a resistance. Captain Elira Snow, Jace's former second-in-command, landed with a stolen ship. She saluted. "I don't know what you've become, Jace, but I followed you through 4 wars. I'll follow you into this one, too." Jace just said, "Welcome back." Meanwhile, inside the Royal Fleet ship, Admiral Varen, Kira's ancient protector, was not pleased. "Your human has awakened something that should never be touched," he growled. Kira stepped forward. "He's not just human anymore." "Exactly. That's why he must be watched." Kira narrowed her eyes. "Or are you afraid he's stronger than you?" Varen said nothing, but deep down, he was terrified, not of Jace's power, but of what he might choose to do with it. Location: edge of Arcarian orbit. The betrayal. The Earth Armada arrived first, 10 fleets, 2,000 ships, carriers, destroyers, and planet breakers. Their leader, Admiral Caldrex, a cold man with sharp eyes, and no patience for rebels. He opened a channel to Jace. "Commander Thorn, stand down. Surrender the weapon, surrender the alien, or we will open fire." Jace, standing in front of the vault, responded calmly. "You fire on me, Admiral. You fire on the only thing standing between you and the Voidkin." Caldrex smirked. "I don't believe in fairy tales." Then he cut the transmission. Seconds later, orbit erupts. The first barrage fell like rain. Explosions rocked the land. The vault shook. Jace raised his hand, and the Godmind responded. A wave of energy pulsed outward, turning missiles to ash mid-air. Ships lost control. Pilots saw visions of their own deaths. Time bent. But Jace fell to his knees. The power was too much to hold alone. Kira grabbed him. "You're burning out. I can't hold them forever," he gasped. "They just keep coming." Suddenly, one of the Earth ships stopped firing. Then another, and another. Something was jamming their systems from deep hyperspace. A fleet emerged, but not Kira's fleet, not human. This was something else, long forgotten, dark, silent, and deadly. The return of the Void. The Voidkin had returned. Not just watchers now, but full constructs, ships made of memory and death. Creatures built from thought and rage. They descended without warning, bypassing shields, bypassing logic. They didn't attack Jace, they attacked everyone else. The war changes. Within minutes, the Earth Armada began to break. Ships torn apart by invisible claws. Hulls melted by time itself. One Earth captain begged for mercy. The Voidkin responded by showing her the moment of her own birth and ending it. Jace screamed, "Enough!" He unleashed a pulse from his body. The sky cracked. Light bent. But it wasn't enough. Not anymore. Kira touched his hand. "We need to merge." "What?" "The weapon isn't complete without us. Not just the keys, the hearts." Their hands touched. And for the first time, the weapon truly woke up. A golden sphere exploded above the vault, and every Voidkin screamed. Across the galaxy, the scream echoed across jump gates. It was heard in dead moons and distant black holes. The Godmind's true voice. It was not just a machine, it was hope rewritten as a weapon, and Jace was now its guardian. The final betrayal. But not everyone was ready to follow. Admiral Varen, afraid of what Jace had become, launched a hidden strike. Kira saw it too late. A bolt of light shot from one of her own ships. It struck Jace in the chest. He fell hard. His body flickered with unstable energy. "No," Kira screamed. The weapon trembled. The Voidkin paused. Kira ran to Jace, held him in her arms. He looked up at her weakly. "It's okay," he whispered. "This was always going to happen." She shook her head, crying. "I need you to stay," she whispered. But he was already fading. And then everything went still. The real enemy. Silence. For the first time since the war began, Arcarian was quiet. No explosions, no gunfire, no movement. Commander Jace Thorn lay motionless in the ruins of the vault, his armor cracked open, his chest glowing faintly where the energy strike hit him. His breathing was shallow. Above him the sky flickered, blue, gold, then black. Something was shifting in the stars. Kira knelt beside him, her hands shaking as she pressed against the wound. "Stay with me," she whispered. "You don't get to leave now, not now." Jace opened his eyes slightly, blood at the edge of his mouth. "Did we win?" She couldn't answer, because in the distance, the Voidkin had stopped moving, but they hadn't retreated. They were waiting, far beyond the stars. A forgotten layer of reality. Time rippled like water. Something ancient stirred. Beyond physics, beyond form. It had no name, no voice. But it had always been there. Watching, waiting, feeding. Not on blood, but on conflict. Back on Arcarian, the awakening. Kira turned to the God-mind core, now dim and cracked. Without Jace, it was incomplete. She reached into it. "Take me," she said. The sphere pulsed weakly. "I am the second key. The air. Let me in," it responded. Slowly. Her body lit up, hair lifting, eyes glowing, skin vibrating with force. She began to merge with the weapon. Not like Jace had. This was different. This was sacrifice. And then, a voice echoed across the vault. Not human, not alien, but familiar. You were never meant to survive. Only to remember. Kira turned sharply. Who said that? But it wasn't said. It was felt. Then, from the black clouds above, a shape began to descend. The real enemy arrives. It didn't fall. It simply appeared, folding space like a page of paper. It had no face, no ship, no structure. It was a shadow made of regret, memory, and unwritten futures. It was the architect of conflict, the one who whispered in the ears of dying kings, the one who caused the void kin to awaken, the one who made both sides fear peace. It wasn't voidkin, it had created the voidkin. Kira dropped to her knees. It's a mind parasite, she gasped. No body, just hunger. It feeds on war. Inside the mind of Jace's body was still broken, but his mind was alive, floating, burning, existing inside the weapon's memory field. He saw the wars, not just human, not just alien, all of them, stretching back millions of years, species that no longer existed. Worlds that were never born. Each of them had one thing in common. They had all heard the voice, the same one that whispered, "They're different. They're dangerous. Strike first." Jace finally understood. The Voidkin weren't evil. They were tools, just like him. And the true enemy was fear itself, given thought, given form. Now standing over Arcarian in its final body, back on Arcarian, the final stand, Kira rose from the ground, eyes glowing gold now, voice deeper. "You've poisoned empires," she said to the shadow, "turned allies into monsters, whispered lies into the minds of every living thing." The shadow didn't speak. It didn't have to. It simply existed, and its presence brought rage, fear, panic to everything around it. Human ships in orbit began firing at random. Alien fleets turned on each other. The god mind flickered. Jace's body spasmed. Kira screamed, "He's dying!" But the shadow stepped forward, and then Jace stood, broken armor, burning veins, but alive. The god mind glowed behind him, not in gold, but in pure white light. Jace looked up. Fear dies today. The final battle. The shadow charged, moving like liquid night. Kira raised a shield of light. Jace fired a pulse from his hand. The god mind roared, shaking the skies. Void kin were torn from the air, collapsing. But the shadow kept coming. It struck. Jace in the chest again. This time, no weapon, just doubt. Visions of Earth burning, of Kira turning on him, of everything falling apart. Jace gritted his teeth. "I've seen the truth. I've lived the lies. I know who I am now." He reached out and held Kira's hand. Together they lifted the god mind's core and spoke in one voice. "You are not real." The shadow screamed and shattered into nothing. Silence. Again. But this time, peaceful. The sky cleared, the voidkin vanished. No explosion. Just a quiet erasing, like they'd been deleted from the universe. 1 week later, New Earth Embassy, orbiting Arcarian humans and aliens now stood together, side by side. A treaty was signed. No weapons, No titles, just names. Kira stood in a silver robe, beside Jace, his chest still scarred but his eyes calm. "You sure you're okay?" she asked. He nodded. "I still hear the weapon, sometimes, but it's quiet now." And the voice? Gone. For now. They looked at the stars together. "What do we do now?" she asked. Jace smiled. "We rewrite everything." Final scene. Somewhere beyond the stars, a single spark flickers in a dead galaxy. A whisper echoes. Where there is peace, there is weakness. But then a second voice, familiar, strong, replies, "Not this time." And the spark goes dark.